welcome back to Galley of the Sun. And today I am making a couple of bases. We found an absolutely wonderful recipe for frozen custard. The recipe does make 2 pints, so you got to make sure you have 2 of the pint containers for your CREAMi ready. So tonight I'm going to make the bases, and then tomorrow we'll cream them up and try them. So the first base that I'm making here is the vanilla custard base. I use some vanilla bean. I have some Mexican blend vanilla, but any vanilla you have is fine. It does take 6 egg yolks, 2/3 cup sugar, 1 cup of whole milk, and 2 cups of heavy cream, pinch of salt. This is going to be the vanilla frozen yogurt. Then I'm going to make a chocolate frozen yogurt. Or, excuse me, frozen custard. My bad, I'm saying frozen yogurt. So on the chocolate, it's the same base as the vanilla, except we're going to add in a 1/4 cup of the Hershey's dark chocolate Dutch processed cocoa powder. Don't get the sweetened stuff, it'll end up too sweet. But I have the same setup here. Now this next one that we're going to make, so I'll have 2 pints and 2 pints. The next one I'm going to make is a caramel macchiato. So we found these wonderful little latte frappe mix things at Costco that are for caramel macchiato. You can use them in your coffee. You can make them with milk. Yes, this is what they look like in the box. So, but we found in my testing out, because I test first, well, most of the time, because we're going to try something new, is that it takes about 3 of these packets to make what we need to make. And again, you still have your 2 tablespoons of whipped cream cheese and versus the 1 that the normal vanilla calls for. You have your 3/4 cup of heavy cream. And then we found this wonderful stuff at our local Fry's, which is a Kroger, sea salt caramel milk. So I'm going to use this milk in place of the whole milk. And we're going to get a nice caramel ice cream. And then on this one, I'm going to do a cinnamon rum chata. So of course, rum chata. And I have the cream cheese. I have my 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. I have my 1/3 cup, and this is a cinnamon sugar mix. Get a good cinnamon for this because it's going to be a cinnamon rum chata. And then instead of a cup of whole milk, I have a 1/2 cup of whole milk and a 1/2 cup of rum chata. So this is the only one that I haven't done before, but it just sounded really great. So we're going to go ahead and try it and try a boozy ice cream. Okay, I'm going to actually do these first because they don't require cooking. The custards do require cooking, but you don't have to sit there and monitor the temperature and everything like you do for the gelato, but they're made very similarly. So you can see that I have a strainer out because you do want to strain it. But first, let's get this going. And if you want to use a different kind of emulsifier thing than the cream cheese, go right ahead. We found we really like it. We like the taste. We like what it does. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the caramel milk. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and mix in our cream. 3/4 cup, just like the regular recipe. I've already got it marked on top because, you have to do that. So you know what you got. Or you could just play Russian roulette and, not lose because it's ice cream. All right. So we're going to pour that in there. And if this does get a lump on the top, it's okay. And it's okay that it's a little bit of the chunky pieces here, but that amount right there goes right up to max fill line, which is what we want. And that is ready to go to the freezer. So we are back and we are going to get started on the rum chata before we do the custards. So I'm going to go microwave my cream cheese. I'm going to take a sip of my caramel macchiato coffee, or 2. Get my cream cheese in there. Now I'm going to take my 1/3 cup cinnamon sugar and get that blended in there. And you will see that it is kind of blending up like the way you would with sugar. A little bit thicker just because of the fact that there's the cinnamon in there. But I thought this would just taste wonderful. We will find out for sure tomorrow. Because boozy ice cream. Let's have some adult ice cream. So now I'm going to add in the half a cup of whole milk and the half a cup of rum chata. Okay, and now we're going to add in the heavy cream, 3/4 cup of heavy cream. So it's just modifying the vanilla base. Now I am going to take a little bit of the vanilla, just because I like the vanilla in it, and put about 1.5 teaspoons. It smells amazing. Okay, you know what? We're going to do something here real quick. Got my little tasting spoon. Oh, so if you've ever had horchata, which is rum chata's virgin cousin, and you had a lot of cinnamon in it, that's kind of what this tastes like right now. Really good. And that is ready to go in. The custard. So we're going to do the vanilla first. Now I have the 6 egg yolks here. I'm going to use this little whisk, and we're just going to mix them up real quick. Make sure that they're kind of, you know, well beaten together. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other ones too, just so that we're ready for them. Now we like using extra large eggs in our house. The recipe calls for large egg yolks. Either one works. Don't use medium, or you're going to have to use a couple more. We can do this without having to do the temperature and everything that the gelato did. So we're going to start off with pouring our 2 cups of heavy cream and 1 cup of whole milk in here, and our 2/3 cup of sugar. Okay, so we're just going to get this heated up and make sure that the sugar is fully dissolved. So getting it to this point where all of the sugar is dissolved and it's nice and warm takes about 3 to 5 minutes. It may take a little bit longer if you're using a lower heat, and that's fine too. So I've got the eggs here, got my spoon. We're gonna spoon some into the eggs. And then I'm just gonna take my whisk and I'm gonna blend that a little bit. Take the chill off the eggs so they don't cook so much.
You don't want to make scrambled eggs.
Yeah, you don't want scrambled eggs at this. Now we're still going to strain this to get out any solids that may happen, but and then I'm going to pour this in here slowly and whisk it in. And you're going to see the color of it goes from a white ice cream, like what you would normally get with a vanilla, to kind of a yellow custard color, because that's what we're making. We're making frozen custard. Okay, so I let this cook a little bit, and I come back and I give it some good stirs. Make sure we're not getting any scalding going on. And just waiting for that to thicken up. Basically, you're waiting for the eggs to cook a little bit inside of the liquid. Now, the really cool thing about this frozen custard recipe is you cool it to room temperature. You don't have to ice bath it. And then you put it in the refrigerator to get cold all the way through before you put it in the freezer. So you cool it to room temperature. It takes about half an hour or so. And then you pop it in the fridge and let it chill all the way through. And then you put it in your freezer and let it freeze so that you can run it through the CREAMi. Now this recipe was developed for kind of like any ice cream machine you have, and it makes 2 of the CREAMi pints. And the first time I made it, within a day both pints were eaten, and then I made it a second time, and I made half of it into the chocolate by adding in 2 tablespoons of the dark cocoa powder, and that was eaten right away, including my youngest grandson who's teething and thought that that was the most wonderful thing ever. So tonight it's like, oh, I have to make more custard and more chocolate custard because his papa did not get any of the chocolate custard because he ate it all. And you can kind of feel when this is thickening up, and that's exactly what you want. But you don't want it to scald. You don't want it to get into a rolling boil or a heavy simmer or anything like that. And you'll notice that there'll be bubbles just from using the whisk on it, and that is okay too because they'll go away. I'm going to add in about 2 teaspoons of the vanilla bean. And just because I really like the vanilla flavor, it's going to be about a tablespoon of the Mexican vanilla. Okay, so we're back over here. The one thing you have to do with this, just like you do with gelato, is you do have to strain it. And I will show you why in just a second. Because any of the egg that cooked in it, you want to get out of it. Because some will. There's just no getting around it. It will. And then, when you see that that is right up to the fill line on both of these vanilla custards. So we're going to let these sit out. We're going to let them come to room temperature. And I'm going to leave them open so the heat can come off of them. And we're going to set them over here. I'm not going to worry about washing this because we're going to do the chocolate, and it's okay if the chocolate and vanilla mix, but I do need to rinse this out and pick up that whisk that just fell on the floor. Okay, so be back in just a sec. So this time we're going to put in the cream and milk mixture, and we're going to put in the sugar, but we're also going to put in the cocoa because I need the cocoa to dissolve all the way too. Now, because I used 2 tablespoons for just a single pint, I have 4, which is basically a 1/4 cup. If you don't like it that dark chocolatey, then don't use as much. All right, we're going to take this over to the stove, and I'm going to start getting that dissolved. And again, it's on a kind of a medium-low heat. This one will get noticeably thicker than the vanilla one. Simply because we do have the cocoa powder in it. But you'll notice it will thicken up like a custard in the way that you need it to. You just have to give it its time to do that, just like you did with the vanilla. So I'm just going to let that sit here. All right. Let's pour this through our strainer. And you see we got a lot of it out of this too. And that's it. Now it's just letting them cool and getting them chilled and frozen. And then we'll be back tomorrow and we'll get them blended up and you'll see what they look like. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right, so it's day 2. Everything is frozen. As we did before, we have the vanilla custard, we have the chocolate custard, I have that cinnamon rum chata, and I have the caramel macchiato. So it's spin day. So we're gonna start off with the vanilla, put it in, lock my lid down. Now, having made the vanilla custard before, I do know that spinning it on ice cream is really the best thing to do, and then just a respin if it needs it, and it might. In for the loudness. With any homemade ice cream, it'll come out kind of maybe a soft serve when you spin it, but when you refreeze it, it turns to a hard pack. That is normal. If you don't like it quite so hard, you can pop it in the microwave for, 15, 30 seconds to defrost it a little bit, or leave it out on the counter for about 15, 20 minutes, let it defrost a little bit, and then it won't be quite so hard packed for you. It's coming out kind of creamy on its own on this first spin, so I think, yeah, that's coming out kind of nicely. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of give it a good stir. I'm going to get the spatula. Give it a good stir and probably just spin it just one more time. Kind of get the frozen sides off a little bit. Yummy, yummy. And with the respin, At least I can tell. You may not be able to, but it's kind of getting some of that stuff that was frozen on the sides that didn't catch in the first spin. Okay, so now you see I've got a really super creamy vanilla custard, frozen custard. It is so yummy, so good. And we're gonna go clean this off so I can just do this to it. And this frozen custard recipe is really easy because you don't have to monitor the temperature. And you have that rich, wonderful goodness in it. There we go. Vanilla frozen custard. All right, let's go spin that chocolate. We're gonna spin the chocolate twice too, usually. And I found that doing the spin and then the respin on the frozen custards gets you the creamiest custards possible. Now, I use a dark chocolate powder. If you want to use a milk chocolate powder or white chocolate powder, you can. But we like that nice dark chocolatey fudginess. I think it's kind of neat how you can see where the blade is going down and catching all of it. Okay, so I'm going to release this to reset it. There we go. So you can see that this kind of is creamy spun, but I'm going to spin it one more time because we want it just kind of super creamy. So we're going to put this back in here, and I'm just going to do the respin on it. And I think with the custards, because they're thicker, because you have the egg in there too, it is probably best to do the respin on these. Versus a lot of your ice creams, you don't necessarily have to do the respin because you don't have that egg in there making it thicker. All right. Oh, look at how creamy that is. And smooth. Look at that. And I always like to give it a good stir with my spatula, get everything off the sides, make sure everything's mixed in there perfectly. You want to do your mix-ins at this time? Go do your mix-ins. Hey, make it yours. Okay. Yeah, we got lots of chocolate on there. Chocolate. It is so good. Wash this out. You gotta dry it. Gotta clean this off. So now we're gonna spin the cinnamon rum chata. And I don't know if any of you know, but there's like a seal in here. It does come off. So when I go to clean this after spinning all of these, I'll pull that out and I'll clean everything so that you don't end up with like weird smells and stuff. Let's do some rum chata. Now this should taste, now it's boozy, so, you know, be careful of that because we do have the boozy in there. But it should taste kind of like a cinnamon horchata. And I'm thinking with the grandbabies here, and we have one that is just a total ice cream fiend, that we may end up having to get more pints just so we can make ice cream more. So my little 9-month-old grandson is walking, and when he sees you walk out with one of these pints, he is on you like fly on honey. The rum chata came out like soft serve, which I'm not surprised about because it has the booze in there. So I would expect it to come out kind of like very, very creamy like this. But when we put it back in the freezer to refreeze it, now that it's been churned, it should freeze up really nicely. Okay. Oh, that's tasty. Greg, you need to try this.
Ooh. On some apple pie.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be amazing.
It's time to do the caramel macchiato. You might get this little raised center that you can kind of see here. When you do your ice creams, that is okay. You can blend through it. What you don't want is you don't want it at an angle where it freezes at an angle. So you need to freeze them flat. If they get the little domed center, that is okay. Now, I'm thinking about spinning in some mini chocolate chips into this caramel macchiato and making it like a Java chip macchiato, but we'll see. I may get overruled. Okay, this may need a respin, but we're gonna just try it right now. Okay, no respin needed. Holy cow. Greg, you need to come try this. I'm gonna take it off the lid.
Anytime.
Okay, you have to like coffee to like this one, but oh wow.
Oh. You get that. The coffee's almost an aftertaste. You get the caramel right up front. And that, not super sweet, but that kind of smoky caramel flavor. And then it's followed by the coffee, like almost an aftertaste.
Just like a caramel macchiato should be.
Man, that's really good.
All right. Oh, so good. Now it's time for me to go clean up my machine, make it all good, get everything in the freezer so we can have it later tonight. Yes, and if you like what you saw today, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, so you get the next notices of what we're doing and when. And until next time, see you later on Galley of the Sun.